Hey there, hope you're doing well. In this podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about API gateways because that's the recent work we've been doing. We are about like 85% there, so we have a bit more to go before we can get our first API product out the door. So we are pretty stoked as a team, and we've been working on this for a few months and on different aspects of it, right? In this video, I'll just talk about one part of it, which is once you have your endpoints implemented, like your API, your endpoints associated with a single API, what do you need to do to get it out there, right? So it could be a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot of options, there's differences and similarities between the different providers, API providers out there. So this is, if you're ever thinking about doing it, given API first is pretty popular as a strategy, and a lot of companies are moving in the direction of publishing their backend. So folks can actually build their web or mobile apps or other server-side systems that they can integrate with, right? Just to be able to focus on their core business and let some other companies do a lot of the heavy lifting, right, on the server side. So in that context, without further ado, let me get into this video. And thanks for dialing in. If you haven't checked out our product, go to snowpal.com, download our app from the app and Play Stores, yada yada yada, and that's basically it, right? So let's get started. So you have, in our case, we have our Snowpal API. The first API we're going to publish is going to be a project management API, right? Our API is very generic, but the first version of it that we are publishing is going to be project management oriented, if for no other reason, but simply for the fact that our current product that's out there already in production, it's been there for a couple of years, a little bit more than that now, is, as you know, a project management platform, right? So we figured, we built it pretty generically. So we were like, okay, why can we not take this and have other folks, companies benefit from what we've built and have a stable set of endpoints on the server side. So you can actually build something like snowpal.com, but to satisfy a similar business need, a different business need, doesn't matter, right? That is the essence, our idea behind exposing, wanting to publish this API. So the first thing you need to publish an API is the endpoints associated with, and again, I'm not talking about this in any particular order. If you want to know the theory, and if you've been, if you follow any of my podcasts or technical work, you hopefully know that, I don't get as much into the theory as the practicality of how we use some things that I actually talk about here. So if you want the theory, there's plenty of places you can look up online, right? So, but from a more pragmatic standpoint, what are some of the things you need to publish an API? The first thing is you need is endpoints that you can actually, that provide business value, right? Whatever those endpoints are, whatever the core business problem that you're solving is, you need to have a set of endpoints that you need to associate with the API. An API consists of one or more endpoints, right? Whether it's REST endpoints or graph endpoints. Our first API is going to be it's going to comprise of a number of REST endpoints, right? Exclusively REST endpoints. Our future APIs will have, will touch other, will, impact other businesses, solve other business problems, and there would be both REST, graph, depending on the type of problem you're solving and the nature of our consumers, right? But the very first one is a set of REST endpoints. We have a pretty large number of endpoints that kind of powered the Snowpal system. In our first release, we are obviously going to, just expose all of them. We could have started with just a very small handful of endpoints, because if you look at a lot of the providers out there, at least from what I've seen, they publish like 15, 20, 30, 40 endpoints. Some large providers like Box, the largest one I've actually seen, I don't know, don't quote me on this, you can look it up. They have like 100, 150 endpoints or something, right? That's a pretty sizable number. Our first version of it, again, we honestly don't go small in whatever it is that we do. So our first API is going to have close to 400 endpoints, right? It's a pretty big number, as you can imagine. I'll speak to, more details about this, but it's suffice for now for you to know. It should suffice to know that it's an API that's project management oriented, and it's got close to 400 endpoints. I think the exact number is probably like 380 or 378 or something like that, and probably there's a few more that we need to add before we go live. That the first thing you need is a set of endpoints that provide a piece of functionality. Now we already have that, because our mobile app and our web app actually consumes, and our mobile web, the responsive app as well, they all consume those endpoints. Now the web app does everything that we support is exposed on the web app. 80% of what we support is exposed on a native mobile app, and we're going to keep increasing that, making it 100%, and also shifting focus a bit so it continues to do what the web does, and a lot more in time in the immediate to the short to near term future, right? So we have those functional endpoints. So then you're like, okay, if you have them already, how difficult can it be to actually get them to publish them so other folks and other companies can actually consume it, right? It's taken me like 5 minutes, over 5 minutes, to give the introduction to this problem that we are solving and to give you some context to what the video is actually about. But it's going to take a little bit longer for me to get into the next set of details. So rather than spend more time editing the video, because a lot of these platforms I publish that on do not support more than a certain length of time, and that's been a challenge, I'm just going to save myself some Final Cut Pro time and stop this video right here, call it part 1 of N, whatever N ends up being as far as the API Gateway podcast is concerned, and I'll just pick up from the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.